If all you do is plug symptoms into an AI, are you still a doctor, or are you just slightly better at prompting AI than your patients?
Right off the bat, that's a heavy question, isn't it? Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tackling one of the absolute most fascinating and frankly urgent tensions in modern science today. On one side, you have this cold, unbelievable algorithmic efficiency. We're going to call that the processor. And on the other side, you have warm human empathy, the pulse. AI is completely turning healthcare on its head right now. But as you'll see today, while AI may see the patterns in our clinical data, it is the doctors who actually see the person behind them.
Okay, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The healthcare data problem. 2. AI, the pattern processor. 3. The empathy and context gap. 4. Doctors as human anchors. 5. Building trust and transparency. And 6. The future of medicine. Let's just dive right in.
Section 1. The healthcare data problem, a fragmented system.
So medicine today is largely shaped by probability, right? It prioritizes the most common explanations for whatever symptoms you walk in with. And while that's great for everyday stuff, it creates a massive blind spot for rare diseases. 14 to 16 years. Think about that for a second. That is the average time it takes for a woman to get correctly diagnosed with a rare condition called Fabry disease, which, can easily just masquerade as nerve pain or an autoimmune issue. For acute intermittent porphyria, it's 10 to 15 years. These diagnostic delays are literally decades long.
Now, it's crucial to understand that these massive delays aren't happening because doctors are negligent or bad at their jobs. They happen because of structural barriers in the system itself. The clues about a patient's health are entirely fragmented. You get a lab result over here, maybe an imaging study over there, clinical notes taken years apart across completely different hospital networks. Without a single, continuous narrative to look at, a doctor is really just looking at a tiny, isolated snapshot of a patient's entire lifelong health journey.
Section 2. AI, the pattern processor. Finding the digital fingerprints.
Enter the processor. At its core, AI is fundamentally the ultimate data aggregator. It builds what we call longitudinal views. It doesn't just look at today's 15-minute appointment. It can instantly ingest decades of disparate data. We're talking pathology results, wearable device stats, old clinical notes, and it pieces together a connected timeline. It acts like a digital detective, searching for what researchers call digital fingerprints. These are those super subtle combinations of symptoms happening years apart that finally point to a rare condition.
So the power of the processor comes down to unparalleled speed and scale. It aggregates all that fragmented data. It spots longitudinal patterns. It even uncovers complex drug synergies for cancer treatments. And it predicts disease risks using just massive data sets. There's actually this incredible case of a patient named Matthew Williams. He suffered through years of misdiagnoses in the slow traditional system. A chatbot digested his wildly complex medical history and accurately proposed his condition in mere seconds. Seconds! The speed of the answer here is undeniably mastering the data.
Section 3. The empathy and context gap, where the machine fails. But, you knew there was a but coming, right? There's a catch. AI is incredibly fast, absolutely, but it is also incredibly brittle. It completely lacks any real-world context. In a fascinating survey of physicians in Chengalpattu, India, 37.5% of doctors pointed directly to AI's inability to sympathize and consider a patient's emotional well-being. Another 24.6% were worried because these tools are often developed by tech specialists who actually have very little clinical experience themselves. The AI might know the textbook perfectly, but it doesn't know the actual human beings sitting terrified on the exam table.
And this leads us to a genuinely terrifying reality, the prompting danger. Check this out. A physician consulted a chatbot about some gastrointestinal symptoms, and because they use highly precise clinical language, the AI correctly diagnosed a rare cyclospora infection. But when they typed the exact same symptoms in using casual, everyday colloquial terms, how you or I might describe it, the AI confidently dismissed it as common gastroenteritis and told the user they didn't even need a doctor. If your accurate diagnosis depends entirely on how well you write a prompt, well, that system is fundamentally unsafe for everyday patients.
Which brings us to what researchers at Stanford are calling the productivity paradox. We are constantly told that AI is going to save doctors all this time, right? But if a doctor has to obsessively verify every single output a machine generates just to make sure it hasn't hallucinated a fatal error, we aren't actually saving time at all. We're just turning healers into data auditors. We're burying them in cognitive burden and pulling them even further away from the actual art of patient care.
Section 4. Doctors as human anchors, the pulse of medicine.
If AI is the processor, the doctor is the pulse. And this human anchor is entirely irreplaceable because, as we said, AI may see the patterns, but only doctors see the person behind them. While the processor gives us speed and data aggregation and pattern recognition, the pulse gives us empathy. It gives us an understanding of unrecorded contextual history and ethical reasoning. Look, a machine might suggest a clinically perfect textbook care plan, but only a human doctor realizes that, hey, the patient actually can't afford this medication, or maybe they don't have the social support at home to manage a really complex rehabilitation schedule.
And the medical community knows this intimately. When they were asked what should happen if a human doctor and an AI completely disagree on a diagnosis, a staggering 90.2% of physicians surveyed said they would trust the human doctor's judgment over the machine. The algorithm is a tool. It is not an oracle. As Dr. Dipti Itchapuri so perfectly puts it, algorithms process the patterns, but they really can't comprehend consequences. If an AI makes a fatal mistake, it doesn't feel the weight of that error. It doesn't have to look a grieving family in the eye. And that's exactly why clinical accountability has to always remain human. AI is a fantastic tool, but it can never be used as a shield against responsibility.
Section 5. Building Trust and Transparency, an Auditable Framework. So how do we fix this? How do we safely merge the processor and the pulse? How do we get that incredible AI speed without the danger of an unaccountable black box? Well, researchers in the journal Frontiers suggest a 4-step auditable framework to keep AI in check. Step 1. The AI maps the user's messy, everyday clinical input to standardized medical terms. Step 2, it only searches a curated, verified knowledge base. No random internet searches allowed. Step 3, it generates an answer that actually includes explicit, inline citations directly back to those clinical guidelines. And Step 4, it records every single step in an immutable audit log. Basically, if a mistake happens, a doctor or a regulator can look back and see exactly where the machine's logic broke down.
This lines up perfectly with the Delhi Declaration on AI Readiness and this great quote from Dr. Abhijat Sheth. AI should augment the doctor, not replace the doctor. Sure, AI can pre-fill a tedious radiology report or suggest a plan based on massive datasets, but the final, legally and ethically binding interpretation? That belongs exclusively to the human in the loop.
Section 6. The Future of Medicine, the Pulse and the Processor United.
So the future isn't about human versus machine. It's about collaborative care. AI handles the incredible speed of data aggregation, finding those tiny, hidden clinical risks scattered across decades of messy files. But the human in the loop reduces the negligence. They interpret those risks through the lens of actual patient values. The machine handles the speed of the answer, so the human can protect the weight of the meaning.
I want to leave you with this really powerful question from the Stanford researchers. If we save the physician's time, only to lose the physician's gaze, what have we truly gained? AI is undoubtedly the most powerful tool medicine has seen in a generation. But its true value isn't going to be measured by how well it replaces doctors. It's going to be measured by how well it empowers them to finally look up from their screens and truly see the patient sitting right in front of them. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparks some curiosity for you, and I'll catch you next time.